/TIFU my ex won't move out, so I changed the locks, and he regrets everything. I'm standing in my own hallway at 2 a.m., staring at 3 cardboard boxes filled with my cheating ex-boyfriend's underwear, wondering how the hell my life became a discount soap opera. 2 hours ago, I watched through my peephole as Jake tried his key in the new lock for the 15th time, his face cycling through confusion, anger, and what I can only describe as the dawning realization that actions have consequences. The locksmith cost me $400 I didn't really have, but watching Jake's expression? Priceless. Sarah. His voice echoes through the hallway now, accompanied by frantic knocking. I know you're in there. You can't just change the locks. Actually, I can. I checked with my landlord yesterday, and since Jake's name isn't on the lease and he's never paid actual rent, just utilities, he has about as much legal right to this apartment as my houseplant does. Less, actually, because at least my monstera doesn't bring random women home and have loud sex in my bed while I'm at work. The knocking stops, replaced by the sound of Jake sliding down the door. I can practically see him sitting out there in his wrinkled button-down, probably still smelling like whatever perfume his date wore tonight. Date number 3 this week, by my count. Apparently, discovering your girlfriend knows about your affair is really freeing for your social calendar. My phone buzzes. A text from Jake. Come on, babe. We can work this out. Babe. I actually laugh out loud, a sound that's half humor, half hysteria. 3 weeks ago, I was babe. Then I found those messages with Melissa, my best friend Melissa, who I'd been planning to ask to be my maid of honor someday, and suddenly I became Sarah in that careful, distant way cheaters use when they're trying to figure out how much trouble they're in. The answer, Jake, is a lot of trouble. Another text. I left my work laptop in there. I need it for the Morrison presentation. I glance at the black laptop bag sitting on my kitchen counter. The Morrison presentation isn't until next Friday. I know because I helped him prep for it last month, back when I thought we were building a life together instead of him building a trail of lies. My neighbor Mrs. Chen's door cracks open. She's 80-something and has the hearing of a surveillance expert. Everything okay, honey? Just taking out some trash, I call back, gesturing to Jake's boxes. She nods approvingly and disappears back inside. More knocking. More desperate now. Sarah, please. I made a mistake. Can we just talk? A mistake. Like he accidentally tripped and fell into Melissa. Like he mistakenly deleted my number while programming hers. Like he somehow confused our 3-year relationship with permission to treat our home like his personal bachelor pad while I slept on my own couch for a month. I should be sad. I should be heartbroken and crying and eating ice cream straight from the container like every movie taught me. Instead, I'm standing here in my pajamas feeling something I haven't felt in weeks, powerful. The hallway goes quiet. Through the peephole, I see Jake slumped against the wall, staring at his boxes like he's seeing his life from the outside for the first time. Good. It's about time. My phone buzzes again, but this time it's not Jake. It's my sister. How did Operation Lockout go? I text back. He's sitting in the hallway looking like a kicked puppy. Good. Want me to come over with wine and popcorn? This sounds entertaining. I'm about to text my sister back when Jake's voice changes. Gone is the pleading tone, replaced by something sharper, more familiar. The voice he used when explaining why I was overreacting about him coming home at 3 a.m. smelling like someone else's shampoo. You know what, Sarah? This is crazy. You're being completely irrational. And there it is. The Jake I've been living with for the past month, the one who somehow made me feel like I was the problem for being upset about his affair. I press my eye back to the peephole and watch him stand up, brushing off his pants like he's preparing for a business meeting. I paid utilities for 3 years, he continues, his voice carrying down the hallway. I have mail delivered here. You can't just throw me out like some random hookup. The audacity is breathtaking. This is the same man who, 2 weeks ago, told me I was being dramatic when I asked him to at least have his dates pick him up instead of bringing them upstairs past our front door. My phone starts ringing. Jake's contact photo, us at last year's Christmas party, both grinning like idiots, flashes on the screen. I decline the call. It immediately rings again. Then comes the sound I've been dreading, footsteps on the stairs. Multiple sets. Dude, what are you doing out here? A male voice I don't recognize. Through the peephole, I see Jake's coworker Brian climbing the stairs with a blonde woman I vaguely remember from Jake's office happy hours. They're both dressed like they've come from some upscale bar, and they're both clearly drunk. My crazy ex changed the locks, Jake says, and I can hear him switching into performance mode. I'm trying to get my stuff, but she's having some kind of breakdown. Breakdown. I grip my phone tighter. Apparently, having boundaries qualifies as a mental health crisis now. Bro, that's harsh, Brian says. Can't you just call the cops or something? My stomach drops. Can he? I think about the legal advice I googled at 1 a.m., the landlord conversation, the lease with only my name on it. I'm pretty sure I'm in the right, but pretty sure feels a lot less certain when someone's talking about involving police. The blonde woman, I think her name is Tiffany, examines the boxes with the fascination of someone watching reality TV. Oh my god, is that his underwear just sitting out here? That's so embarrassing. Sarah's always been vindictive, Jake says, and something hot flashes through my chest. She can't handle that we're not working out. Vindictive. For 4 weeks, I've been sleeping on my own couch while he treated our apartment like a hotel. I've watched him eat food I bought, use Netflix accounts I pay for, and bring home women whose names he probably doesn't even know. But I'm vindictive for finally doing something about it. Brian's girlfriend giggles. This is like something from a TV show. Jake, you should totally post about this. The story is hilarious. Hilarious. My 3-year relationship ending is hilarious. My phone buzzes with a text from Jake. My friends are here now. This doesn't have to get ugly. Just let me grab my laptop and some clothes. Before I can respond, another text appears. Don't make me involve building management, Sarah. You're embarrassing yourself. Embarrassing myself. I look around my quiet, peaceful apartment, my space, without his dirty dishes and random hookups and constant excuses. For the first time in a month, I can breathe in my own home. My sister texts again. Radio silence isn't good. What's happening? I type back. He brought back up. And he's threatening to call building management. Want me to call Rob? Rob. My sister's boyfriend, who happens to be a lawyer. Who I probably should have called weeks ago instead of trying to handle this myself. Outside, Jake is still talking, his voice getting louder, more confident with an audience. Time to even the odds. I text my sister back, yes, call Rob. Now. Through the peephole, I watch Jake pacing in front of his boxes while Brian and Tiffany treat this like dinner theater. Jake's phone is pressed to his ear, and my stomach clenches when I realize who he might be calling. Yeah, hi, this is Jake Morrison in 4B, he says loudly enough for me to hear. My girlfriend changed the locks and won't let me get my belongings. I've been living here for 3 years. Building management. Of course. At 2:30 a.m., he's calling the emergency maintenance line and spinning this like I'm some unhinged woman holding his stuff hostage. My phone rings. Unknown number. Hello? Hi, this is Tom from Riverside Apartments Emergency Maintenance. We got a call about a lockout situation? My mouth goes dry. This is Sarah Chen in 4B. There's no lockout situation. I changed the locks on my apartment because my ex-boyfriend won't leave. Ma'am, the caller says he's been living there for 3 years and has a right to access his belongings. Can you confirm he's been a resident? Resident. The word hangs in the air like a trap. How do I explain that yes, Jake's been here 3 years, but no, he's not actually a resident? That he's been playing house with my lease, my furniture, my life? He's not on the lease, I say carefully. Only my name is on it. I can send you a copy. Ma'am, tenant rights aren't always about whose name is on the lease. If someone's been living somewhere for an extended period, they may have established residency regardless. I'm going to need to come up and assess the situation. My chest tightens. Through the door, I can hear Jake explaining to Brian and Tiffany how he's handling it through proper channels now. Like he's the reasonable one. Like I'm some crazy person who snapped for no reason. 5 minutes later, heavy footsteps echo in the stairwell. Tom turns out to be a tired-looking guy in his 50s with a maintenance uniform and the expression of someone who's dealt with too many domestic situations. I crack my door open, keeping the chain latched. Ms. Chen? I'm going to need you to open the door so we can sort this out. Can I see some identification first? He shows me his building ID, and I reluctantly unhook the chain. The hallway suddenly feels crowded with Tom, Jake, Brian, and Tiffany all staring at me like I'm the main attraction. Okay, Tom says, pulling out a clipboard. Mr. Morrison, you're saying you've been living here for 3 years? Yes, Jake says immediately. I pay utilities, I get mail here, I have belongings throughout the apartment. Sarah's upset about our relationship ending, but she can't just lock me out. Tom looks at me. Ms. Chen? He's been staying here, but he's not a tenant. He doesn't pay rent. And we broke up a month ago, he's had time to make other arrangements. She didn't give me proper notice, Jake jumps in. You can't just kick someone out overnight. I have rights. Rights. The word makes my skin crawl. What about my right to feel safe in my own home? My right not to watch him parade other women through our space? Has anyone been served with formal eviction papers? Tom asks. Jake and I both shake our heads. Tom sighs. Look, this is really more of a legal issue than a building maintenance issue. But Mr. Morrison, you can't just demand access to someone else's apartment at 2:30 a.m. And Ms. Chen, if he's established residency, you may need to go through formal eviction procedures. What does that mean? I ask, though I'm pretty sure I don't want to know. It means this could take weeks to resolve properly, Tom says. Maybe months. Months. Jake's face brightens, and I feel something inside me crack. That's when my phone rings. My sister. Rob's on his way, she says without preamble. And Sarah? Don't sign anything or agree to anything until he gets there. Rob arrives 20 minutes later looking like he got dressed in the dark, which he probably did. My sister Emma trails behind him, carrying a thermos of coffee and wearing the expression of someone ready for war. Nobody say anything else, Rob announces before anyone can speak. He's still in pajama pants under his jacket, but his lawyer voice is fully activated. Sarah, I need to see your lease. Now. I duck back inside to grab it while Jake whispers urgently to Brian, probably trying to get their story straight. When I hand Rob the paperwork, he scans it quickly, then looks up at Tom. This is a single-tenant lease with no authorized occupants listed, he says. Mr. Morrison has no legal standing here. But he's been living here for 3 years, Tom protests. That could establish tenancy rights regardless of the lease terms. Rob's jaw tightens. In Massachusetts, you need either a written lease or payment of rent to establish tenancy. Paying utilities doesn't cut it. He turns to Jake. Do you have any receipts showing rent payments made to Sarah or the building management? Jake's confident expression wavers. We had an arrangement. I paid my share of the utilities, bought groceries. That's not rent, Rob says flatly. You were a guest. Guests can be asked to leave. This is bullshit, Jake snaps, his mask finally slipping. I lived here for 3 years. I have mail coming here, my work has this address. Your work address and mail delivery don't establish tenancy, Rob interrupts. Sarah, as the sole leaseholder, has every right to change her locks and deny you access. I feel something loosen in my chest, but Jake's face is turning red. Fine, he says. But my stuff is still in there. She can't keep my belongings. Actually, she can, Rob continues, if you don't retrieve them within a reasonable time frame after being asked to leave. How long ago did Sarah ask you to move out? A month ago, I say quietly. Jake whips around to face me. You never gave me a formal notice. I told you we were over and you needed to find somewhere else to stay. Multiple times. That's not the same as. Jake, Emma interrupts, stepping forward. I was here 2 weeks ago. Sarah literally begged you to pack your stuff and go. You laughed and said you weren't going anywhere. Brian and Tiffany are looking increasingly uncomfortable, like they're realizing this isn't the fun drama they signed up for. Look, Tom says, checking his watch. It's almost 3 a.m. Mr. Morrison, based on what the attorney is saying, you don't have grounds to demand access tonight. Ms. Chen, you might want to consider allowing him to collect essentials. No, I say, surprising myself with how firm my voice sounds. He's had a month. His work laptop is here, his clothes are in those boxes. That's more than reasonable. Jake's phone starts ringing. He glances at it and his face goes pale. Who is it? Brian asks. My mom. Jake declines the call, but it immediately rings again. Emma grins. Let me guess. Sarah isn't the only one who's tired of your shit. The phone keeps ringing. Jake finally answers it. Hi, Mom. No, I'm not at home. It's complicated. His voice gets smaller with each response. I can't hear the other side of the conversation, but Jake keeps wincing. She changed the locks. I don't know where I'm staying tonight. Mom, can you not? He hangs up abruptly. Everything okay at home? Rob asks with mock concern. Jake runs his hands through his hair. She's calling my dad. There, they think I'm an idiot. Smart people, Emma mutters. That's when Jake's phone buzzes with a text. He reads it and his face crumbles. What now? I ask, despite myself. He looks up at me, and for the first time tonight, he looks genuinely broken. Melissa broke up with me. The hallway goes dead silent. Even Tiffany stops examining her nails. What? I hear myself ask, though I'm not sure why I care. Jake's holding his phone like it might explode. She said she can't do this anymore. That I'm emotionally unavailable and she's tired of being my rebound. The irony is so thick I could choke on it. The woman he destroyed our relationship for just gave him the same treatment he gave me, except she was smart enough to cut her losses after a month instead of 3 years. Dude, that's rough, Brian says, but he's already edging toward the stairs. Maybe we should head out. No, wait. Jake grabs Brian's arm with something close to desperation. I need somewhere to crash tonight. Just until I figure this out. Brian and Tiffany exchange looks that say everything. Man, we've got that early meeting tomorrow, and Tiff's place is tiny. What about your couch? Just for tonight? Jake, honestly, this is getting really heavy, and we're pretty drunk. Brian trails off, but the message is clear. Even his drinking buddies don't want to deal with this mess. I watch Jake realize he's completely alone, and I feel nothing. Not satisfaction, not pity. Just empty space where 3 years of caring used to live. Sarah. Jake turns to me, and his voice cracks. Please. I know I messed up, but I have nowhere to go. You should have thought of that before you decided to redecorate our relationship with someone else, Emma says coldly. I wasn't thinking straight, Jake continues, ignoring her. Melissa and I, it was exciting and new, and I got caught up. But it wasn't real. What we had was real. Was, I repeat. Past tense. You're right about that part. I can change. I know I can. Just give me one more chance to prove. Jake, stop. I hold up my hand. You had a month to prove things could be different. Instead, you brought 3 different women through that door and told me I was overreacting for being upset about it. His face flushes. Those weren't serious. I was just trying to move on because I thought you wanted nothing to do with me. So you moved on by not moving out? Rob asks dryly. Look, I made mistakes, okay? But Sarah, you know me. You know I'm not a bad guy. I got confused. Confused. Like our entire relationship was a math problem he couldn't solve. You know what confused me? I say, and my voice is steadier than I feel. Coming home early from my work conference and finding Melissa in our bed. Wearing my robe. Eating cereal from the bowls I picked out when we moved in together. Jake winces. She told you about that? She didn't have to tell me. I saw it. I saw her jump up and try to explain while you hid in the bathroom like a coward. I wasn't hiding. You were in there for 20 minutes, Jake. I timed it. Brian clears his throat. Okay, we're definitely going to head out now. This is way too personal for us two. Wait, Jake says desperately. Brian, I'm serious about needing a place to stay. Dude, no. This is your mess to clean up. Brian starts down the stairs, practically dragging Tiffany with him. Figure it out, man. Their footsteps echo down the stairwell, leaving Jake looking like someone just canceled Christmas. There are hotels, Rob points out helpfully. I don't have money for a hotel, Jake admits. I've been putting everything into savings for. He stops, glancing at me. For what? I ask, though I'm not sure I want to know. For a ring, he says quietly. I was going to propose next month. Before everything got complicated. The words hit like ice water. Emma actually gasps. You were cheating on me while shopping for engagement rings? My voice comes out strangled. It wasn't like that. Then what was it like, Jake? Explain to me how that works. He opens his mouth, then closes it, then opens it again like a fish gasping for air. That's when Mrs. Chen's door opens again. I'm calling the police, she announces. It's 3 a.m. and some of us have jobs in the morning. The word police cuts through the hallway like a knife, and suddenly everyone's talking at once. Mrs. Chen, that's not necessary, I start. Ma'am, we're handling this, Tom jumps in. No, wait, please don't, Jake's voice cracks with panic. But Mrs. Chen has already disappeared back into her apartment, and I can hear her voice through the thin walls. Yes, there's a disturbance in my building. People shouting in the hallways at 3 a.m. Jake's face goes white. Sarah, I can't have the cops called on me. My job, my security clearance, if this goes on record. For the first time tonight, I see genuine fear in his eyes. Not the manipulative desperation from before, but real terror. His marketing firm handles government contracts. Even a minor police incident could tank his career. Then you should have thought of that before camping out in my hallway, Emma snaps, but I hold up a hand. Mrs. Chen, I call through her door. I'm sorry about the noise. We're wrapping this up now. Too late, honey. They're already on their way. My stomach drops. This was supposed to be simple. Change locks, remove Jake, reclaim my life. Now there are cops coming and Jake's talking about engagement rings and somehow I'm the one who feels like I'm in trouble. How long until they get here? Rob asks Tom. 15, maybe 20 minutes? It's not exactly a priority call. Jake starts pacing frantically. Sarah, please. I'll take my stuff and go. I'll find somewhere else to stay. I'll give you space. Just, can you tell them this was a misunderstanding? That we worked it out? Where exactly are you going to go? I ask. You just said you don't have money for a hotel. I'll figure something out. Maybe my cousin in Brookline. The cousin who hates you because you slept with his ex-girlfriend? Emma interjects. Good luck with that. Jake stops pacing. How do you know about that? Because Sarah tells me things. Like how you have a pattern of screwing over people who trust you. That was different. Was it? I find myself asking. Because from where I'm standing, it looks like you specialize in destroying relationships and then acting shocked when there are consequences. That's not fair. You know what's not fair? My voice gets louder despite myself. Having to sleep on my own couch for a month because you decided our bedroom was a revolving door. Listening to you explain to your dates that I'm your crazy ex who won't leave you alone. In my own apartment. Tom shifts uncomfortably. Maybe we should all just calm down before. And you know what's really not fair? I'm on a roll now, 3 weeks of suppressed anger spilling out. Coming home from a conference early to surprise you, and instead finding my best friend in my bed. Watching you both scramble around making excuses like I was the problem for showing up to my own home. Jake's jaw tightens. You never let me explain. Explain what? How long it had been going on? Because Melissa was very helpful with the details. 3 months, Jake. 3 months of you two laughing about how clueless I was. She told you that? The hurt in his voice is almost funny. She told me a lot of things. Like how you complained that I was boring. How you said you were only staying with me until you found something better. Emma whistles low. Damn, Jake. Even for you, that's cold. I never said you were boring. Sarah's nice, but she's kind of predictable, I quote. She thinks having dinner at home is a fun Friday night. His face flushes red. I was venting. Everyone vents about their relationships sometimes. To their affair partners? About how disappointing their girlfriend is? Rob checks his watch. Police should be here in about 10 minutes. Jake, I strongly suggest you figure out where you're going, because this conversation isn't going to look good for you. That's when Jake's phone rings again. He glances at it and actually groans. Your mom again? I ask. Worse. My landlord. We all stare at him. What landlord? Emma asks slowly. Jake's face turns an interesting shade of gray. I may have kept my old apartment. The hallway goes dead silent. You what? I whisper. I kept the lease on my place in Davis Square. Just in case things didn't work out with us. Just in case, I can't finish the sentence. The betrayal is so complete, so calculated, that I actually laugh. You had a backup plan. This entire time. Sarah, it wasn't like that. Then what was it like? Because it sounds like you were hedging your bets while I was planning our future. I was being practical. You were being a coward. Emma's voice is deadly quiet. You kept your apartment because you never intended to actually commit to Sarah. Jake's phone buzzes with a text. He reads it and his shoulders slump. What now? Rob asks. My landlord. Someone's been breaking into the building, and he's doing a security check. He's at my apartment right now and... Jake trails off. And? I prompt. And Melissa's stuff is all over it. The silence that follows Jake's admission is so thick I could cut it with a knife. Even Tom the maintenance guy is staring at Jake like he's watching a train wreck in slow motion. Let me get this straight, Rob says, his lawyer voice getting dangerously calm. You've been living with Sarah while maintaining a separate apartment where you've been keeping your affair partner? Jake's mouth opens and closes like he's trying to catch flies. It's not, she's not living there. She just has some stuff. What kind of stuff? I hear myself ask, though every instinct is screaming at me to stop talking, to walk away, to pretend I never heard any of this. Just, clothes. Toiletries. It's not a big deal. Clothes and toiletries. Emma repeats this like she's testing how the words taste. So you set up a love nest while telling Sarah you wanted to build a life with her. I wasn't thinking clearly. No, you were thinking very clearly, I interrupt. You were thinking so clearly that you kept an apartment, installed your girlfriend there, and still had the nerve to tell me I was being dramatic when I asked you to move out. Jake runs both hands through his hair, a gesture that used to make me want to comfort him. Now it just makes me want to scream. The apartment was already paid through the end of the year, he says weakly. I didn't want to lose the deposit. The deposit. I repeat the words slowly. You destroyed our relationship over a security deposit. That's not why. Then why? My voice echoes off the hallway walls. Because I'm really struggling to understand your logic here, Jake. Help me follow the timeline. Rob holds up a hand. Sarah, you don't need to put yourself through. No, I want to hear this. I turn back to Jake, who looks like he'd rather be literally anywhere else. You met Melissa 3 months ago. You started sleeping with her but kept living with me. Then you rented her space in your secret apartment while telling me you wanted to propose. Do I have that right? You're making it sound worse than it was. How could it possibly be worse? Jake's phone buzzes again. He glances at it and actually whimpers. Your landlord? Emma asks sweetly. He wants to know why there's a woman's purse on my kitchen table and who the hell Melissa is. I feel something snap inside my chest, but it's not heartbreak. It's the sound of the last thread of sympathy I had for this man finally breaking. Call him back, I say. Everyone stares at me. Call your landlord back, I repeat. Right now. Sarah, I don't think. Speakerphone. Jake's face goes pale. Why would you want me to? Because I want to know exactly how long this has been going on. And I want witnesses. Rob steps closer to me. Sarah, legally speaking, you don't need to. I'm not asking as a tenant or an ex-girlfriend, I say, surprised by how steady my voice sounds. I'm asking as someone who apparently shared her boyfriend with her best friend for 3 months and deserves to know the truth. Jake's phone starts ringing in his hand. His landlord's name flashes on the screen. Answer it, Emma says. Speakerphone, like Sarah asked. I don't have to. That's when we hear footsteps in the stairwell. Heavy boots, multiple sets, echoing up toward our floor. The police. Jake's face goes white. Sarah, please. Answer the phone, Jake. The footsteps are getting closer. Jake stares at his ringing phone like it's a live grenade. The police footsteps are echoing closer up the stairwell, and I can see sweat beading on his forehead despite the chilly hallway air. Answer it, I say again, my voice cutting through his panic. Or I will. He swipes to accept the call, his hand shaking as he puts it on speaker. Jake? Finally. What the hell is going on over here? The landlord's voice crackles through the phone, thick with a Boston accent and irritation. I'm standing in your apartment and it looks like 2 different people live here. Jake shoots me a desperate look. Hey, Mr. Kowalski. Sorry about the late hour. There's been some confusion. Confusion? Kid, there's women's makeup all over your bathroom counter, birth control pills in your medicine cabinet, and lingerie in your dresser drawer. Either you've developed some interesting hobbies, or you've been lying to me about this being a single occupancy situation. Emma mouths oh my god while Rob pulls out his phone, probably recording this for posterity. Or evidence. It's temporary, Jake stammers. Just until she finds her own place. She? I thought you told me you were practically married to some marketing girl named Sarah who lived across town. My stomach drops. He told his landlord about me. While installing Melissa in his secret apartment. That's complicated right now, Jake says, his voice getting smaller. I'll say it's complicated. Because either you're running some kind of boarding house situation, which violates your lease, or you're subleasing without permission, which also violates your lease. The police footsteps pause 1 floor below us. I can hear radio chatter echoing in the stairwell. Mr. Kowalski, I can explain everything if you just give me a chance. Oh, you'll get your chance, all right. Because Miss Melissa here just walked in while I was doing my security check. Jake's face goes completely white. She's there? Now? Standing right next to me, actually. Seems she's got some things to say about your living arrangements. You want to talk to her? No. Jake practically shouts, then catches himself. I mean, that's not necessary. But it's too late. I can hear the phone being passed, and then Melissa's voice comes through crystal clear. Jake? What the fuck is going on? Why is your landlord here asking me about lease violations? The sound of her voice hits me like a physical blow. 4 months ago, we were planning a girls' weekend in Vermont. She was the person I called when I got promoted. She knew about my childhood dog's name and my fear of butterflies and which coffee shop had the best Wi-Fi for working remotely. Melissa, just, don't say anything else, Jake pleads. Don't say anything else? Your landlord is threatening to evict you because apparently I'm not supposed to be living here? You're not living there, Jake says quickly, glancing at me. You just have some stuff. Jake, I've been staying here 4 nights a week for 2 months. My mail comes here. I have groceries in the fridge. Emma lets out a low whistle. 2 months. Sarah, that means he was setting up house with her before he even broke up with me, I finish, the math crystallizing in my head. While I was helping him prep for work presentations and planning what to get his mother for her birthday. The radio chatter gets louder. The police are definitely on our floor now. Sarah, please, let me explain, Jake starts, but Melissa's voice cuts him off. Sarah? Sarah's there? Jake, you told me you 2 were over. You said she moved out weeks ago. The hallway spins slightly. Moved out? I never moved out. This is my apartment. Your apartment? Melissa's voice gets shrill. Jake, you said you 2 broke up and she was staying with her sister while she found a new place. Emma snorts. Yeah, well, Jake says a lot of things. Who is that? Melissa demands. That's Sarah's sister, Rob supplies helpfully. We're all here watching Jake's lies unravel in real time. It's very educational. The sound of heavy footsteps stops right outside our hallway door. Through the glass, I can see 2 uniformed officers checking apartment numbers. Officers, Tom calls out, stepping forward. We've got the situation contained up here. But I'm barely listening because Melissa is still talking, and every word is like watching my last 3 years get fed through a paper shredder. Jake, you told me she was clingy and couldn't accept that you'd outgrown her. You said living with her was like being suffocated. I never said suffocated. You absolutely said suffocated. Last week, when I asked why you looked so tired, you said going back to her place was draining. Going back to her place. Like this apartment, our home, was just some obligation he had to endure between visits to his real life. That's when the police knock on the hallway door. The police officers enter the hallway like they're walking into a hostage negotiation, which honestly isn't far off. Officer Martinez, according to her name tag, surveys the scene with a weary expression of someone who's broken up too many domestic disputes at 3 a.m. We got a noise complaint, she says, her voice carrying the authority of someone who's dealt with worse. What's the situation here? Before anyone can answer, Melissa's voice crackles through Jake's phone speaker. Jake? Jake, are you still there? Your landlord is asking me about subletting agreements and I have no idea what he's talking about. Officer Martinez raises an eyebrow. Is that someone on the phone? My, it's complicated, Jake stammers, looking like he wants to disappear into the wallpaper. Uncomplicated, the second officer says. He's younger, probably new, and clearly trying to project authority. Whose apartment is this? Mine, I say, stepping forward. I'm Sarah Chan, and this is my apartment. Jake is my ex-boyfriend who I asked to leave a month ago. But he's been living here for 3 years, Tom the maintenance guy jumps in, apparently forgetting whose side he was supposed to be on. Officer Martinez looks at Rob. And you are? Attorney representing Ms. Chen, Rob says, straightening his shoulders. The tenant has every legal right to change her locks and deny access to unauthorized occupants. Jake. Melissa's voice gets more frantic. Someone needs to explain what's happening because your landlord is now talking about calling the police too. The police are already here, Emma calls toward the phone, grinning like she's watching the finale of her favorite reality show. There's a moment of stunned silence from the phone, then, what do you mean the police are there? Officer Martinez holds up her hand. Sir, can you please end that call so we can sort this out? Actually, I hear myself saying, I'd like her to stay on the line. Everyone turns to stare at me. Ms. Chen, Rob warns, legally you don't need to. I want to hear what else she has to say about my apparently suffocating relationship. Jake's face crumples. Sarah, please don't do this. Do what? Find out the truth? Because apparently everyone knew the real story except me. Officer Martinez checks her notepad. Let me get this straight. You're the tenant, he's been staying here but isn't on the lease, and now there's a third party involved who's been living at his separate apartment? While he was also living here, Emma clarifies. Double dipping on domestic bliss. That's not how, Jake starts, but Melissa's voice cuts him off. Jake, you told me you were single. You said Sarah was your ex who couldn't let go. The young officer blinks. So you thought he was available? I thought he was divorced. Melissa shouts through the phone. He said they used to live together but broke up months ago. Jake makes a sound like a deflating balloon. Months ago, I repeat slowly. Jake, when exactly did you tell her we broke up? It's not that simple. January, Melissa's voice comes through clear as a bell. He told me in January that his ex-girlfriend was having trouble accepting it was over. January. 3 months before I found them together. 3 months of him coming home to me every night, kissing me good morning, discussing weekend plans and vacation ideas, all while telling another woman I was his delusional ex-officer Martinez looks like she's developing a headache. This is starting to sound more like a relationship issue than a legal one. Oh, it's about to get more legal, a new voice says from the stairwell. We all turn to see a man in his 60s climbing the stairs, wearing paint-stained work clothes and carrying a folder thick with papers. Mr. Kowalski? Jake's voice cracks. The one and only. And I brought some friends. Behind him, 2 more people emerge, a woman with a clipboard who screams property management and a guy in a suit who definitely screams lawyer. Well, Emma murmurs, this just got interesting. Mr. Kowalski surveys the hallway like a general assessing a battlefield, his eyes taking in Jake's boxes, the crowd of people, and the 2 police officers with the practiced efficiency of someone who's dealt with tenant drama for decades. Jake Morrison, he says, his voice carrying the weight of disappointed authority. You want to explain why I just spent an hour listening to your girlfriend, sorry, other girlfriend, tell me about how you've been running some kind of 2-apartment shell game? Jake opens his mouth, but no sound comes out. Through the phone speaker, I can hear Melissa talking rapidly to someone in the background, probably the property management woman. Mr. Kowalski, Officer Martinez interjects, we're trying to sort out a domestic dispute here. Oh, this is way beyond domestic, the suit-wearing lawyer says, stepping forward. I'm David Chen, no relation, he adds with a glance at me. I represent Brookline Property Management. We're looking at potential lease violations, subletting without permission, and possibly fraud. The word fraud hangs in the air like a smoke alarm going off. Jake's face goes from pale to green. Fraud? That's not what this is. Really? Mr. Kowalski opens his folder and pulls out a stack of papers. Because according to your lease application from 3 years ago, you listed Sarah Chen as your emergency contact and described her as your long-term partner. You used her employment information to help qualify for the apartment. I feel the blood drain from my face. You what? Sarah, I can explain. You used my job to get approved for a secret apartment? My voice gets higher with each word. While we were living together? Mr. Kowalski nods grimly. Gets better. When I called the number he listed for you last month to verify some insurance information, I got someone named Melissa who claimed to be Sarah Chen. The hallway goes dead silent except for the sound of my heart hammering against my ribs. She what? I whisper. Through the phone speaker, Melissa's voice gets defensive. Jake told me his landlord might call, and he said to just say I was his girlfriend Sarah because the paperwork was complicated. Officer Martinez looks at her partner. Identity fraud? Potentially, the lawyer says. Using someone's employment and identity information without permission to secure housing, then having another person impersonate that individual to landlords. Rob steps closer to me. Sarah, this is serious. If he used your information without consent. I didn't know. Jake practically shouts. I mean, I knew, but I didn't think it was illegal. Sarah and I were together, we were planning a future. You were planning a future while setting up house with someone else, Emma snaps. That's not planning, that's fraud with extra steps. Mr. Kowalski pulls out another document. Then there's the matter of the unauthorized occupant. Miss Melissa has been receiving mail at the apartment, has a key, and according to the neighbors, has been introducing herself as Jake's fiancé. Fiancé? I feel like someone just punched me in the stomach. Melissa's voice comes through the phone, smaller now. Jake said we were going to move in together officially once his situation with Sarah was resolved. What situation? I demand. We were living together. We were happy. At least I thought we were. You were suffocating me. Jake finally explodes, his careful facade cracking completely. Every night it was, how was your day, and what should we watch, and planning boring dinners at home. Melissa was exciting, she was spontaneous. She was available, Officer Martinez observes dryly. That's not, Jake starts, then stops, seeming to realize he's only making things worse. The property management woman steps forward, consulting her clipboard. Mr. Morrison, we're going to need you to come with us to discuss your lease violations. And Miss Melissa needs to remove her belongings immediately. Tonight? Melissa's voice gets panicky through the phone. Tonight, Mr. Kowalski confirms. Building policy is clear about unauthorized occupants. Jake looks around the hallway desperately, like he's searching for an escape route that doesn't exist. Where am I supposed to stay? That's not really our problem, Officer Martinez says. Ma'am, she turns to me, do you want to press charges regarding the identity fraud? The question hits me like ice water. Press charges. Make this real, legal, permanent. I need to think about it. Don't think too long, the lawyer warns. The statute of limitations on identity fraud is. That's when Jake's phone rings again. Unknown number. He looks at it like it might bite him. Answer it, I say, my voice steadier than I feel. Jake, I really don't think. Answer it. Speakerphone. With shaking hands, he accepts the call. Hello? Jake Morrison? This is Detective Sullivan with Cambridge Police. We need to talk. The detective's voice cuts through the hallway like a blade, and I watch Jake's face cycle through every stage of panic in real time. Detective Sullivan? Jake's voice comes out as a squeak. I'm not sure why you'd need to. We've received reports of potential identity theft and fraud involving your lease agreements. We'd like you to come in for questioning. I feel like I'm watching this happen to someone else. An hour ago, my biggest concern was getting Jake out of my hallway. Now there are cops, lawyers, landlords, and apparently detectives involved in what used to be my quiet life. This is escalating quickly, Rob murmurs, but his lawyer instincts are clearly kicking in. Jake, don't say anything else without representation. Through the phone speaker, I can hear Melissa talking rapidly to Mr. Kowalski. I didn't know about any identity theft. Jake told me everything was legal. Ma'am, you'll need to speak with the detective as well. Mr. Kowalski's voice carries through. Impersonating someone to a landlord is a serious matter. Jake looks like he might actually faint. Detective, this is all a misunderstanding. Sarah and I were in a relationship. I had permission. Did you? Detective Sullivan interrupts. Because we have a complaint filed an hour ago alleging that you used someone's employment information and social security number without consent. Everyone turns to stare at me. I didn't file anything, I say quickly. Then who? Jake starts. I did. The voice comes from the stairwell, and my heart stops. My mother emerges onto the landing, still in her nurse scrubs from the night shift, her face set in that particular expression that used to terrify me as a teenager. Behind her, looking equally grim, is my father. Mom? My voice comes out small. How did you? Emma called me an hour ago, Mom says, her voice carrying that deadly calm she uses in the ICU when someone's about to flatline. She said there was a situation involving identity fraud and my daughter's credit. Oh God. My credit. In all the chaos, I hadn't even thought about what Jake using my information might have done to my credit score. Dad steps forward, and even though he's barely 5'6" and works as a librarian, somehow he makes the entire hallway feel smaller. Sarah, we ran your credit report on the way over. My stomach drops. And? 3 lease applications in the past 2 years using your employment information, Mom says, consulting her phone. 2 approved, 1 pending. None of which you signed. Jake makes a sound like he's choking. Sarah, I can explain. 3? My voice echoes off the walls. Jake, you used my information for 3 apartments? The property management lawyer perks up. 3? We only knew about 1. Somerville, Cambridge, and Brookline, Dad reads from his phone. Total monthly rent obligation of $4,800, all listing Sarah as a co-applicant. Officer Martinez exchanges looks with her partner. That's definitely fraud. It's not fraud if we were in a relationship. Jake protests desperately. Couples share financial information all the time. Did Sarah sign any applications? Detective Sullivan asks through the phone. Well, no, but... Did she give explicit permission for you to use her social security number and employment details? Jake's silence is deafening. Mom steps closer to me, her protective instincts in full force. Sarah, honey, one of these applications was submitted last month. After you told us you'd broken up with him. Last month. While he was refusing to leave my apartment and telling me I was overreacting about everything. Jake, I say, my voice barely above a whisper, what apartments? He won't meet my eyes. Just, backup options. In case things didn't work out. Backup options. I repeat the words like they're in a foreign language. You were applying for apartments in my name while refusing to leave mine. Through the phone, Melissa's voice gets shrill. Jake, you told me we were going to get a place together in Cambridge. Was that using her information too? The Cambridge application. He was planning to move in with Melissa using my credit, my job, my financial stability as a foundation for their new life together. Detective, Rob speaks up, my client would like to press charges. Your client? Jake whips around to stare at me. Sarah, you can't be serious. But looking at him now, really looking at him, I see a stranger. Someone who spent 3 years sleeping in my bed, eating my food, planning our future, while systematically stealing my identity to build escape routes and love nests. I'm serious, I hear myself say. And for the first time all night, I actually mean it. The detective's voice cuts back through the phone before I can fully process what I just said. Mr. Morrison, we're going to need you to come to the station tonight. This involves multiple jurisdictions now. Tonight? Jake's voice cracks. Detective, it's almost 4 a.m. Financial crimes don't keep business hours, Detective Sullivan replies dryly. Officer Martinez, can you transport him? Officer Martinez nods. We'll bring him in. That's when Jake completely loses it. Sarah, please. He drops to his knees right there in the hallway, his hands clasped like he's praying. You know me. You know I would never hurt you intentionally. I was just trying to keep our options open. The sight of him begging on the dirty hallway floor should make me feel something, pity, satisfaction, anything. Instead, I just feel tired. Bone deep, soul-crushing tired. Our options? My voice sounds hollow. You used my identity to plan your life with someone else. It wasn't like that. Then what was it like? Mom steps forward, and her ICU voice could freeze lava. Because from where I stand, it looks like you've been systematically stealing from my daughter while cheating on her. Through the phone, I hear Melissa's voice getting more frantic. Mr. Kowalski, I don't understand what's happening. Am I in trouble? Do I need a lawyer too? Ma'am, I'd recommend it, the property management lawyer says. Identity impersonation is a felony. Jake's phone slips from his shaking hands, clattering across the floor. The call doesn't disconnect, so we can all still hear Melissa's panic mixing with Mr. Kowalski's increasingly frustrated explanations about lease violations and criminal liability. Sarah, Jake crawls forward on his knees, reaching for me. I'll fix this. I'll call all the landlords, I'll withdraw the applications. It's too late for that, Rob interrupts. The credit inquiries are already on her record. The damage is done. Dad holds up his phone, scrolling through what looks like a credit report. Sarah's score dropped 43 points in the past 6 months. All from inquiries she never authorized. 43 points. My credit score, the thing I'd been carefully building since college, the foundation for every major purchase I'd ever want to make, damaged because Jake was playing house with multiple women using my financial identity. I can fix it, Jake insists desperately. There are ways to dispute credit inquiries. You can't fix 3 years of lies, Emma snaps. And you sure as hell can't fix whatever psychological damage you've done by making Sarah question her own reality for a month. Officer Martinez checks her radio. Detective Sullivan wants to know if there are any other financial accounts that might be compromised. The question hits me like a freight train. Bank accounts. Credit cards. My 401k. The savings account I've been building for a house down payment. Jake, I say slowly, do you have access to any of my financial accounts? His silence tells me everything. Jake. Dad's librarian voice could cut glass. Answer the question. Just the joint savings account we opened last year, he whispers. For the wedding fund. Wedding fund. The account I'd been putting money into every month, dreaming about flowers and venues and a future that apparently only existed in my head. How much? I ask, though I already know I don't want the answer. Jake won't meet my eyes. Sarah, I can explain. How much, Jake? $12,000, he whispers. The number hits me like a physical blow. $12,000. A year of careful saving, of skipping dinners out and shopping trips and weekend getaways to build something for our future. Where is it? My voice doesn't sound like my own. Through the phone speaker, Melissa's voice suddenly goes very quiet. Jake, you didn't. It's not gone, Jake says quickly. I just used some of it for deposits. Some of it? Most of it, he admits. But it's not gone. It's just tied up in security deposits for the apartments. Once I get approved and move in somewhere, I'll get it back. You stole $12,000 from me to fund your escape plan? Jake finally looks up at me, and his face is streaked with tears. I was going to pay it back. Once everything got settled, once I figured out what I wanted. You figured it out, I say, my voice getting stronger with each word. You figured it out months ago when you started lying to everyone about everything. You just wanted to keep all your options open until you decided which life you preferred. Officer Martinez steps forward. Ma'am, this is now definitely a felony theft case. We need to take him in tonight. As they move toward Jake with handcuffs, his phone on the floor crackles with Melissa's voice one last time. Jake Morrison, you are the biggest piece of shit I have ever met in my entire life. For the first time all night, Melissa and I are in complete agreement. The handcuffs clicking around Jake's wrists make a sound I'll remember for the rest of my life, sharp, final, like the period at the end of a very long, very painful sentence. Sarah, please, he says as Officer Martinez helps him to his feet. Don't let them do this. You know I love you. Love. The word feels like a foreign language now. I watch them guide him toward the stairs, this man who shared my bed for 3 years while systematically dismantling my financial life, and I feel nothing but empty space where my heart used to be. That's when my phone buzzes with a text from an unknown number. Sarah, this is Melissa. We need to talk. I stare at the message like it might explode. Emma peers over my shoulder and snorts. Oh hell no. Block her. But before I can decide, another message appears. I know you hate me, but there's more you need to know about Jake. Things the police should hear. Rob frowns at my phone. What kind of things? A third message, he's been using other people's information too. Not just yours. The hallway, which had finally started to clear out as the police took Jake away, suddenly feels crowded again. Mr. Kowalski, who'd been heading downstairs, stops and turns back. Other people? He asks, apparently reading over my shoulder too. What other people? My phone rings. Melissa. Don't answer it, Emma warns. But Detective Sullivan's voice crackles through Jake's abandoned phone on the floor. If there are additional victims, we need to know immediately. I look around at the faces staring at me, my parents, my sister, Rob, the landlords, Tom the maintenance guy who's probably regretting every life choice that led him to this hallway, and realize I'm standing at another crossroads. I can walk away from this mess, block Melissa's number, and try to rebuild my life from the financial wreckage Jake left behind. Or I can find out exactly how deep this rabbit hole goes. Against every instinct screaming at me to hang up, I answer the call. What other people, Melissa? Her voice comes through shaky and small, nothing like the confident woman who used to steal my French fries and give me dating advice. His ex before you. A girl named Rachel. What about her? Jake still had her social security number from when they dated. He used it to apply for a credit card last year when his own credit got maxed out. The property management lawyer perks up. Identity theft across multiple victims significantly increases the penalties. There's more, Melissa continues, and her voice breaks. Sarah, I think he might have used my information too. I found credit card statements in his apartment for cards I never signed up for. Mr. Kowalski's face darkens. How many people are we talking about? I don't know, Melissa whispers. But Jake keeps a file folder in his desk drawer. It's full of paperwork with different names on it. Detective Sullivan's voice cuts in from the floor. We're going to need to search both apartments immediately. That's when my father, who's been quietly scrolling through his phone, looks up with an expression that makes my blood run cold. Sarah, honey, I think you should sit down. Dad, what? I ran a deeper financial background check while the police were arresting Jake. His hands are shaking as he holds up his phone. There are 7 credit inquiries in your name from the past 18 months. 7. 7. The number echoes in my head like a death knell. But Jake only mentioned 3 apartments, Rob says slowly. The other 4 are credit cards, Dad continues, his voice getting grimmer. All approved. Total credit limit of $38,000. The hallway starts spinning. $38,000 in credit cards I never signed up for, never knew existed. Emma grabs my arm as I sway on my feet. Sarah, breathe. But I can't breathe because Melissa is still talking, her voice getting more frantic. Sarah, there's something else. Something worse. How could there possibly be something worse? I whisper. Jake's been talking about disappearing. He has a storage unit somewhere with cash and fake IDs. The silence that follows is so complete I can hear my own heartbeat. Detective Sullivan's voice finally breaks through. We're going to need a lot more backup. The storage unit revelation hits everyone like a bomb going off. Detective Sullivan's voice crackles through Jake's abandoned phone. Ma'am, we need the exact location of that storage facility. I don't know exactly where it is, Melissa's voice wavers. But I've seen him leave sometimes on Sunday mornings with a duffel bag full of cash. He always said it was for his emergency fund. Emergency fund. While I was putting every spare dollar into our joint savings account, Jake was apparently running his own private bank somewhere across town. How much cash are we talking about? The property management lawyer asks. A lot, Melissa whispers. Like, thick stacks of hundreds. I asked him about it once, and he said he didn't trust banks with all his money. Mom steps closer to me, her nurse instincts kicking in as she probably notices I'm about to hyperventilate. Sarah, honey, when did Jake start dealing in large amounts of cash? I try to think back, but everything feels fuzzy. He always said he preferred cash. Said it was better for budgeting. The words taste bitter now. He'd take money out of our joint account every week for expenses. How much every week? Rob asks, though his expression suggests he already knows I won't like the answer. $500, I admit. Sometimes more. He said it was for groceries, gas, incidentals. Dad's face goes pale. Sarah, $500 a week is $26,000 a year. What was he buying? The math hits me like ice water. $26,000 a year in cash withdrawals, while I scrimped and saved every penny. While I bought generic cereal and skipped lunch to put more money in our wedding fund. There's more, Melissa's voice cuts through my panic. Jake's been getting packages delivered to the apartment. Weird ones, from companies I've never heard of. Official-looking stuff. What kind of official stuff? Detective Sullivan demands. Documents. Like, legal papers and ID-looking things. I thought maybe it was work stuff, but now. Mr. Kowalski runs his hands through his gray hair. Jesus Christ. How long has this been going on? I found the storage unit key about 3 months ago, Melissa continues. It was hidden in a book that was hollowed out. Like something from a spy movie. 3 months. Right around the time Jake started his affair with her. Right around the time he told her I was his ex who couldn't let go. That's when my phone starts buzzing with notifications. Text messages from numbers I don't recognize. Sarah, Emma reads over my shoulder. You're getting messages from people asking about credit card applications. My hands shake as I scroll through them. 5 different numbers, all asking about recent credit inquiries, all wanting to verify information for accounts I never opened. Oh God, I whisper. It's happening right now. Even with him in custody, there are still things in motion. Rob takes my phone, his lawyer brain shifting into crisis mode. We need to contact every credit bureau immediately. Freeze everything. That's not going to be enough, Detective Sullivan says through the speaker. If he's been running a sophisticated identity theft operation, we're looking at potential federal charges. This is FBI territory now. FBI. The letters make everything feel suddenly, terrifyingly real. That's when Tom, the maintenance guy, who's been quietly observing this circus, clears his throat. I don't want to make things worse, but I think I know where that storage unit is. Everyone turns to stare at him. I've seen Jake at the public storage on Route 2, Tom continues. I work a second job there on weekends doing maintenance. He comes in every Sunday morning, always pays his rental fee in cash, always alone. What unit number? Detective Sullivan asks immediately. I'm not supposed to give out that information without a warrant. Tom, Mr. Kowalski's voice carries the weight of 30 years in property management. If this man has been committing federal crimes using multiple identities, your discretion could save a lot of people from financial ruin. Tom looks around the hallway, taking in my parents' worried faces, the legal paperwork scattered everywhere, and my obvious distress. Unit 247, he says finally. Second floor, corner unit. Big enough to hold furniture. The silence that follows feels like the moment before a dam breaks. 3 hours later, I'm standing in the police station watching FBI agents wheel out boxes of evidence from Jake's storage unit, and I finally understand what closure actually means. The storage unit contained exactly what Melissa predicted, stacks of cash totaling $47,000, fake IDs for Jake and 2 other identities, and a filing cabinet full of personal information for dozens of people. Not just me, not just Rachel and Melissa, but coworkers, neighbors, even his own family members. Jake Morrison wasn't just a cheating boyfriend, he was running a full-scale identity theft operation. Ms. Chen, Agent Rodriguez approaches with a clipboard. We've identified at least 23 victims so far. The Financial Crimes Unit will be in touch about restitution, but I wanted you to know that we recovered most of the cash from your joint savings account. 23 victims. I should feel sorry for them, and I do, but mostly I feel vindicated. Every time Jake made me feel crazy for questioning him, every time he convinced me I was overreacting, he was covering for crimes that could land him in federal prison for decades. What happens now? I ask. He's looking at 15 to 20 years minimum, Agent Rodriguez says. Identity theft, wire fraud, money laundering, he won't be eligible for parole for a long time. Behind me, I hear Melissa talking to another agent. She's been cooperating fully since they brought her in, apparently as shocked as anyone to learn the scope of Jake's operation. When she hangs up, she approaches me hesitantly. Sarah, I know you have no reason to believe me, but I genuinely thought you two were broken up. I would never have. It doesn't matter now, I interrupt, and I mean it. Melissa was just another victim in Jake's elaborate con game. But we're not friends anymore. We'll never be friends again. She nods, tears in her eyes. I know. I'm sorry. I watch her walk away and feel nothing but relief. The Melissa I thought I knew never existed, just like the Jake I thought I loved was a complete fabrication. 2 weeks later, I'm sitting in my apartment, my fully reclaimed, law-changed, Jake-free apartment, opening mail from credit bureaus and banks. Every fraudulent account has been closed, my credit score is being restored, and the FBI's Victim Services Division is helping me monitor for any remaining threats. Emma brings over Chinese food and wine. So, how does it feel being the star witness in a federal case? Weird, I admit, poking at my low mane. But good weird. Like I can finally breathe again. My phone buzzes with a news alert. Jake's arrest made the local news. Apparently his identity theft ring was one of the largest they'd seen in Massachusetts. The headline reads, Local man arrested for multi-year identity theft scheme targeting romantic partners. Romantic partners, Emma reads over my shoulder. Even the news knows he was a serial cheater. I delete the alert without reading the article. Jake's story is over, but mine is just beginning. 3 months later, I get a call from the prosecutor's office. Jake's pleading guilty to avoid trial, but they want to know if I plan to attend his sentencing. Do you want to? Rob asks when I call him for advice. I think about it for exactly 10 seconds. No. I never want to see him again. Because the truth is, Jake Morrison stole a lot from me, my money, my trust, my sense of reality. But he couldn't steal my future. That's still mine, and it's looking pretty damn good. The locks have been changed. The real life begins now.